Hey guys, this is Coach Micheal Burt, the Super Coach. Welcome to Good Coach, Bad Coach. Secrets the great coaches know that the others will never, ever figure out. You know, at my core, I'm a former championship coach who spent 10 years building a championship program. That program has gone on to win 4 state championships and be the national USA Today national championship team. So I know a few things about building championship cultures, about good coaches and bad coaches, and I've really developed my whole life or devoted my whole life to studying great coaches, whether it be business coaches, whether it be personal coaches, and really whether it be athletic coaches. So not long ago, I decided to put together a new program for you that you can get on iTunes. You can get on my station at coachburt.com on my shows called Good Coach, Bad Coach, because if you know the habits of a great coach, and apparently there's a lot of people who don't know the habits of a great coach because there's so many bad coaches in the world. And those bad coaches start with Pee Wee football to Little League, Junior Pro, middle school, elementary, high school, college, even professionals. You know, I tweeted out the other night the NFL is the only group of people I know that you can get fired at one place for being mediocre or average and the very next day have a brand new job as a head coach at another institution. And that's crazy. You're just recycling losers, man. We're just recycling people that don't work. So I appreciate you coming. This show's going to air every Sunday night at 6 p.m. at coachburt.com. It will go to iTunes. You can listen to it there. And every week I'm going to give you a nugget. I'm going to give you a habit. I'm going to give you something that every coach in America, whether it be an athletic coach or a manager that's trying to be a coach, faces. And today's topic is probably a very hot one because everybody has been in this scenario before. And the concept is, what do you do with a selfish, me-centered, but very talented player on your team? What do you do as a coach? What do good coaches do versus bad coaches do when they have a great player that is incredibly talented, that they know they have to win, but they are incredibly destructive to the team environment. They are incredibly destructive to the harmony, to the trust. And at the end of the day, let's just face it, they're miserable to coach. They are absolutely miserable to coach. Now, this is episode 2, so if you went back and watched episode 1, you can watch it on my YouTube channel. Search Coach Micheal Burt. You can go back and listen to it on iTunes. I talked about one of the things that separated me as a coach from everybody else is how I went over to the business world and studied people like Stephen Covey and the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I brought that business methodology back to the athletic world. And I began to teach something called the whole person. And the whole person says that people, every player you've got, is made up of 4 parts: a body, a mind, a heart, and a spirit. And each of those parts produce 4 different needs. 4 different dimensions, 4 different capacities. Well, when you know this, this is very important to this equation, because what a selfish person is doing is they are eroding the trust, the spirit, the heart, the relationship with their other players and with you. And so when you got a player, here's how this happens. Their whole life they've been raised to be selfish. They've been told by their parents how great they are. They have been usually an only child, where they've gotten everything they've ever wanted. Many times they come from a very wealthy family, and now they're put into the context of a group. And this is why this becomes such a problem. They've never been taught to share. They've never been taught to sacrifice for the greater good. They've never been taught to really, really be a great team member. They had no classes in that. So now you're the coach, and you're stuck with them. What do we do in this scenario? When we come back, here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to show you what I did. One of my championship teams, and several of my championship teams, had the most selfish players I've ever coached in my life on it. I had to have them to win, but I figured out a way to educate their conscience. And I figured out a way to build an incredible peer pressure so that there was all of this pressure on them. So if they didn't conform to a team mindset and sacrifice, and I used 2 different concepts, a concept from the 5 dysfunctions of teams and a concept from Jim Collins' Good to Great, and I combined them to solve this problem of the selfish person. You're watching Good Coach, Bad Coach, and I'm the Super Coach, Micheal Burt. Hey, this is Coach Micheal Burt, and I have a prediction. Within the next 5 years, every manager in the world will have to become a coach. You know, a good coach will do 3 things for you. They make you have conversations you don't want to have. They make you do some things you don't want to do. They'll help you become something you didn't think you could become. This transition, what I call the coaching revolution, prompted me to create a program called Turn Your Managers into Coaches. What we want to do is drive up engagement, drive up production. We want to become a manager other people want to follow. If you've got managers out there that you want to turn into coaches that engage people in systematic behaviors that allows them to do something tomorrow they simply cannot do today, pick up the phone and call us 225-8380, 615-225-8380, or email us at info@coachburt.com, and we're going to teach you how to turn your managers into great coaches. Welcome back to Good Coach, Bad Coach. Secrets of great coaches know that the others never figure out. This program is specifically for leaders, coaches, managers, people out there who have a team of people. They're trying to get it to a maximum level of performance. I believe the better the coach, the better the team. And in this show, I try to take you and turn you into a great coach. I've spent my whole life since really 15 years old becoming a coach that gets people to maximum levels of performance. Today we're talking what to do with the selfish but talented player on your team. And I said before the break, the bad coach really does this. The bad coach allows this negative behavior to exist, and because of that really costs the team. You can never get rid of selfish behavior. It's deeply ingrained in people, but you can manage it. You can mitigate it. You can somewhat control it. The bad coach ignores it. The bad coach tolerates it. The bad coach says, you know what, that's who they are. Let's just try to work with the confines of this. But the good coach says, no, this will cost us from winning a championship. Now, I want to take you to a real life scenario. I've had very selfish players in my time. I've had very giving players in my time. And you say, what do you do with this scenario? One of the biggest missing structures that coaches have today is they don't educate the whole person. And when I say educate the body, the mind, the heart, and the spirit, I'm also saying educate the conscience, which is the spirit of the players. So the very first thing I do with all of my players every year is I teach them the 7 habits of highly effective people. I want them practicing habits of successful people. I want them knowing habits of successful people. I want them practicing habits of successful people. And when I see a coach that rolls in out of shape, late for everything, can't organize, don't plan, what are you expecting out of your players? You don't have a practice plan. You don't have a game plan for the week. You don't have any structure to what you're doing. You're not personally effective at all. It's like going to a doctor that smokes, man. It's like going to a financial advisor that don't have any money. It's broke. Okay? The coach needs to be the most successful person in the group that says, this is how we can do this. You're a role model to your players. So when I talk about educating the conscience, here's what I would do. I would teach my players every year the 7 habits of highly effective people and the 5 dysfunctions of teams. Now, for you to teach it, you have to know it. And not just know it, embed it into your DNA. When you teach the 5 dysfunctions of teams, these are things that create separation from the ideal picture. It is a departure from the ideal scene. Okay? Well, the 5 dysfunctions: absence of trust, fear of conflict, avoidance of accountability, lack of commitment, and the 5th dysfunction, which is status and ego, plays directly into the selfish person's mindset. So when you teach these dysfunctions, here's what you say. These are dysfunctions. Every team in America has them. Every team, even championship teams, have dysfunction. My job as the coach is to find them, manage them, mitigate them. We have some dysfunction on this team. I'm going to educate you on what they look like so that when we have them, we can quickly recognize them, not from coach to player, peer to peer. See, what you really want is your own players policing themselves. You want the leaders of the locker room policing everybody else. And to do that, you've got to get total buy-in from your leadership team. I remember asking Coach Rick Insell, who I wrote the book, The Anatomy of Winning with, how did he win so many championships? And he said this: every year, I get the best player to buy into me and our philosophy. Then I get the second best player. Then I get the third best player. Then I get the fourth best player. And the next thing you know, I've got 6 or 7 players who are bought into me. And once I have them on my side, they peer pressure everybody else to be in. And you got to have this. We encourage what we allow. You get what you tolerate as a coach. So here's what you got to do. First practical lesson, and this is in my book, The Intangibles, as well. This is about how to tap into the hidden side of winning, because there's more to winning than just practice. Here's what you got to do. You got to learn the 5 dysfunctions of teams as a coach. You got to know them inside and out, because the 5th dysfunction is status and ego. And a person who has status and ego believes they are better than everybody else. They're bigger than everybody else. They're more important than everybody else. That status and ego comes from their genetic upbringing, their psychological scripting, their environmental scripting, from what their parents have told them. See, here's the deal. The people who believe this are usually very, very good. They've been told their whole lives, man, about how much of a baller they are. Everybody just kind of cleared a path for them. People have coddled them. People have told them, you're great. You're going to be unbelievable. And because of that, they're not mature enough to handle it. They let it go to their head. Then they try to bring that to the context of the group, which creates all manner of dysfunction. When we come back in the final segment, I'm going to show you how to combine the 5 dysfunctions of teams, constant education and reinforcement of these 5 dysfunctions, with Jim Collins' Good to Great in a concept called Throw the Red Flag. You're listening or watching Coach Burt, and we're doing Good Coach, Bad Coach. Secrets the great coaches know that the other people will never figure out. The better the coach, the better the team. Come on back in the final segment. Hi, I'm Coach Micheal Burt. I'm the super coach. That's a cross between a former championship coach who has an entrepreneurial mind. You know, I started coaching at 15 years old, was coaching at a large high school at 19, and a head coach by 22. By 31, we'd won a championship in over 220 games for about an 80% winning record. Along the journey, I learned some key important things that can help you as a coach out there. I put most of that in a book called The Anatomy of Winning with Coach Rick Insale, 10-time championship coach and Hall of Fame coach. Also put it into a book called The Inspirational Leader, How to Be a Leader People Choose to Follow versus Have to Follow. And my very first book I wrote at 25 years old, Changing Lives Through Coaching, because I think a good coach can change your life. As coaches, guys, we want our players to get better. Here's my question to you. When's the last time you got better? Pick up a copy of any of my books at CoachBurt.com. Welcome back, Good Coach, Bad Coach. Secrets the great coaches know that the other people never figure out. I'm Coach Micheal Burt, your host, a super coach. And while I got you, I want to encourage you every Tuesday, 2 p.m. at CoachBurt.com, watch a Super Coach show. That's where we multiply your life, multiply your money, multiply your business. And I'm really building out this Burt network. There will be other shows that come on here. We want to create so much content for you that we become the leading source of inspiration and motivation and really helping you become a championship coach. It took me about 9 years to be a championship coach and build a championship culture from nothing. I was at a school that had not won a championship since the inception in 1972. It took us 10 years to do it, from 99 to 08. And now I'm telling and helping other people become better coaches, because I can tell you this, since I've retired from athletic coaching in 08, I'm a much better coach today than I was then. I can look back at all of the mistakes that I made. If I had to go back and do it over again, and I'm working on this project, Good Coach, Bad Coach, which are programs for us. We work with management teams. We work with athletic teams. We've had Vanderbilt University, Ole Miss University, Middle Tennessee State University we've worked with. And we'd love to come work with you on this Good Coach, Bad Coach concept. If you've got managers, we'd love to work with your manager on teaching them how to be a great coach. Today we're talking what to do with the most selfish player on your team. Got a couple options, guys. Number one, you kick them off the team, which is going to cost you winning a championship. But if their dysfunction is greater than the value they bring to the table, sometimes you got to let them go, man. You got to cut the cord. You got to move on with people who are on board. But let's say you choose not to do that, which is something I've chosen several times. We want to win a championship, which is bigger than the one person. So my philosophy is simple. I'm not going to let one person cost us a championship. We need them. We got to have them. Let's figure this out. So weekly, in what I call my success schools or my leadership academies, I would teach the 7 habits of highly effective people, the 5 dysfunctions of teams, 5th dysfunction of teams, status and ego. This is where you think you're bigger than the team. And I would teach it so much that every player I had knew it inside and out, then they, the players, could recognize it. Now, what happens when we figure out that we got this dysfunction? Jim Collins, in his book Good to Great, talks about companies having the ability to throw the red flag. And the red flag was just like in a football game where they throw a yellow flag. It says penalty. We got a problem. Well, I told my players this. If at any time you recognize that one of our players is practicing any of these dysfunctions, specifically status and ego, they think they're bigger than the group, you have the ability to throw the red flag, which just means stop, put on the brakes. We ain't going any further. In my championship run, 3 rounds into it, we had to win 10 games consecutive to win a championship. 3 games into it, 2 of my players got into a disagreement with each other off the floor that I had no idea about. They wouldn't speak to each other. They wouldn't talk to each other. I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't figure out why. 3 games into it, one of my other players says, Coach, I need to throw the red flag. So what's the problem? These 2 players can't get along with each other. They've eroded trust. There's a problem that will cost us a championship. So I called them all together and said, we got a red flag on the play. We got a problem on the team. Let's address it right now. We talked it out as a team. The entire team went through the rehabilitation. The entire team went through the intervention. We solved the problem. We hugged and kissed, and everybody made up. We went on to win a championship. And I am convinced, I am 100% convinced, if we would have never challenged that problem, if my players didn't have the red flag to throw, that would have cost us the biggest game and the biggest win of our lives. And when you win a championship, it changes your whole life. You are now a championship coach. You're not just a pretty good coach. You're not just an okay coach. You are a championship coach, and that is something nobody will ever take away from you. We all got selfish players, guys. It's in us to be selfish. My strategy for you is this. Teach your players the 7 habits of highly effective people. That's habits of great people. Teach them the 5 dysfunctions of teams. The 5th dysfunction is status and ego. Attack that. Educate them so much on that. When they are starting to be selfish, you say, hey, hold on now. Remember those 5 dysfunctions? You're getting a little too big for your britches. You're practicing number 5. You think you're too big for the team. Let your players throw the red flag. Have success schools every single week where you're feeding this into the mind, the heart, and the spirit. You educate the conscience so that when they do it, they feel bad about it. Every week we come to you at 6 p.m. on Sunday nights. This is Good Coach, Bad Coach. I hope this catches like wildfire, and coaches all over the world are listening to this show, from junior pro to NBA and NFL. Because I'm going to tell you something, guys. There are good coaches and there are bad coaches. And if you knew the habits of great coaches, why in the world would you ever become a bad coach? This is Coach Micheal Burt, the Super Coach. Follow me at Micheal Burt on Twitter. Follow me at CoachBurt.com. Go out there this week and be an unbelievable coach that other people want to follow versus have to follow.